Have you ever wondered why some people always end up being the office therapist or the team troubleshooter, no matter where they work? Today, we're exploring how the roles we play, both official and unofficial, shape every aspect of our lives in ways most of us never notice.
That's fascinating because just yesterday I was thinking about how I've somehow become the unofficial party planner in three different jobs. There must be something deeper going on there.
Well, what's really interesting is that research shows we have these unconscious tendencies called valences that draw us toward certain roles. It's like having a default setting in our personality that activates in group situations.
So, how do these valences actually influence our formal roles in organizations?
Think of it like this. If someone has a natural valence for leadership, they're not only more likely to seek out formal leadership positions, but they'll probably end up taking charge informally even when they're not the designated leader. Studies show that about 70% of informal leadership roles emerge this way, rather than through official channels.
Well, that certainly explains a lot about workplace dynamics I've observed.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. These roles aren't just job titles or positions. They're more like invisible scripts that guide our behavior. Let's try something. Think about your current workplace and identify three informal roles that aren't in anyone's job description but are crucial for the organization's functioning.
Huh. You know, that exercise really highlights how much of our organizational structure relies on these unwritten roles.
Exactly. And what's even more interesting is how these informal roles can actually shape formal organizational structure over time. Research indicates that about 40% of new formal positions are created to officially recognize roles that emerged informally.
That makes me think about this fascinating method called the metaphor method. Could you explain how that works in practice?
Oh, this is one of my favorite tools for understanding roles. Picture a group sitting together, and everyone takes a moment to think of a metaphor for how they see one particular person's role. The results are often incredibly revealing. For instance, in one case study, a team member was consistently described as a lighthouse by colleagues, someone who provided guidance and warnings, even though their official role was just data entry.
Well, that must lead to some pretty eye-opening moments for people.
You know what's really mind-blowing? Studies show that there's only about a 30% overlap between how people view their own roles and how others perceive them. Let's try another thought experiment. What metaphor would you use to describe your role in your current team? Take a moment.
That kind of self-reflection really shows how complex these role dynamics can be.
And speaking of complexity, let's talk about role transitions. Research indicates that it takes an average of 90 days for people to fully adjust to a new formal role, but the informal role adjustment can take up to twice as long.
Those statistics really put into perspective why role changes can feel so challenging.
Well, here's what makes it even more interesting. Our formal and informal roles are constantly interacting. Think of it like a dance where one partner, the formal role, is following strict choreography, while the other, the informal role, is improvising. Sometimes they complement each other perfectly, and sometimes they step on each other's toes.
That's such a clear way to visualize these complex interactions.
And as we wrap up today's exploration of roles, here's something to think about. Understanding our roles isn't just about job performance. It's about authentic self-expression within the constraints of organizational life. Research shows that people who successfully balance their formal and informal roles report 45% higher job satisfaction.
Those insights really bring home why understanding our roles is so crucial for professional growth and personal satisfaction.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Remember, whether you're in a formal leadership position or the unofficial office comedian, every role contributes to the complex tapestry of organizational life.